Good morning, my friends, and welcome to My Left Ear. This is Carrie Freeman. I'm the writer, producer, director of My Left Ear. It's October 4th, 2023, and if anybody is new, this is a left-leaning political and psychic commentary site where I do runes and I use my left ear because it gives me information, and we try to have a little fun. So good morning, welcome. When I'm not here, because I also do Patreon, and I do weekly runes, and then I do this sort of overview of politics, whatever's going on at the moment. I'm also what I call a change agent, and I help people change. I help people overcome, grow, move forward, and address very specific things. I do that through 20 years of hypnotherapy. And also psychic coaching, which comes with my left ear and runes. So any information that you need to contact me or ask me questions, it's below, okay? And what I do when I'm doing the political is I'm disseminating brand new information and then adding my take on these events. So a quickie, yesterday was my birthday, like I really announced it everywhere, but I got wonderful messages from everybody who looks at my left ear, subscribes, and it was, a lot, and it was very heartwarming, and I received gifts that my left ear people that I've been with for a long time sent me. There's a picture of the beautiful necklace that one of my subscribers made for me, and it's in my community page. It's so beautiful, and I'm going to wear that soon, so you can really see it. It's delicate, so it's kind of hard to see how beautiful it is. But you know what? This birthday, I really had no expectations, because those of you who watch Patreon know that I've let go of some friendships. And so this was like the first birthday where I knew there were people I was not going to hear from. And it was just an interesting experience. So I went into it really not having any expectations. I was like, I'm okay. I have one of my friends here in Los Angeles is taking me to a favorite restaurant on Friday for dinner, so I had that to look forward to. So that's funny about when you don't have expectations. It turned out to be like one of the nicest, easiest, flowy days that I've had, with a lot of love. So thank you, my friends. And I'll tell you more later on. All right, so today is a little bit shorter. At least I think it's going to be a little bit shorter because I'm doing it late and I don't want it to take 3 hours to upload. So I wanted to do it and get it uploaded to you so it's not quite as long. And you might like it that it's not quite as long, or I think it's not quite as long. I'm going to start with Kevin McCarthy. Now, you probably all know that he's out as speaker, and I put something on my community session because I looked at the date that he started, and I very much remember saying, I give it 7 months, and 8 months. So he got an extra month out of my prediction. Now he's blaming Dems right now for not winning, and in a way it's true. They all got together as one cohesive group of people, like-minded group of people, and they went, no, it's not our job to save him. And he's had so many trespasses, lies and changing his mind and the impeachment, and how when January 6th came out, he made a really good speech, a speech that sounded like a leader. And then like within 10 hours, he was running to Mar-a-Lago, and it was like taking pictures with Donald Trump, and he's never been the same since. Everybody just wanted to get rid of the lying, manipulative ex-Deli manager. Kevin, did you know that he used to like manage a delicatessen, like not a Jewish delicatessen, but a deli, made sandwiches and stuff. Yeah. It's impossible to keep him due to all of his messes and the fact that he has no ideology whatsoever. He just wanted that power. He wanted that office. And he took over that office prematurely before he got the position. So he's just a really detestable guy. Now, going forward, nobody is a reasonable candidate to be speaker except Hakeem Jeffries. I mean, there's nobody mature or reasonable on the right side right now. So that part, we're dealing with an unknown. I need to ruminate on that. But here's the really good news. The Democrats got fantastic reviews for the vote because there was no infighting. They got together privately in the morning. They agreed. And so they were united. And Hakeem Jeffries got fantastic reviews on his leadership. You know, Nancy Pelosi is a hard one to, step into her shoes. I never had any doubts about Hakeem. I think he's fantastic. So he did get he got accolades, really, from everybody yesterday about spot on. We got to wait and see. They're not even going to put out candidates until next week, so there's nobody running the show right now. Crazy, isn't it? All right, so we're going to go now. We're going to move on to Donald Trump's gag order. And these are things that you probably already know, but the very confident and tough judge in the fraud case in New York, Judge Arthur Engoron, issued a gag order on him yesterday. And he's the first judge to do it. They've all been talking about it. He went, bam. He'd had enough because it was done because Trump was making, in his social media, public remarks about the judge's staff members. He blasted the judge, his top law clerk, and gave out information on that law clerk and her social media site, and Letitia James. And so he was having none of it, the judge, none of it. And I think everybody got like just kind of a secondary gain from that move that he made. It was like, damn, finally, someone's gonna do this. Not that he'll listen to him. So I asked the Runes, will Trump defy Judge Engoron's order? Sounds like a foolish question, but I wanted just to hear what the rune said. All right. So what's interesting is the first rune I pulled was the rune of joy. All right. And you go, oh no, but it's our joy. Isn't that interesting? It's our joy that he finally has been issued a gag order, which will open the doors for the other judges and the other cases too. So don't be upset about joy. I just went, oh, it's our joy. It's like our relief. Something's finally happening. So it's our joy because he will fail. Maybe even today he'll come out with crazy stuff. So he's either going to get sanctioned really badly by this judge. We don't know how the sanctions, or he's just going to be flipped into jail. That would be fast, wouldn't it? All right. So the second rune I pulled was warrior in the reversed position, the weakened position. Now that's Trump, the weakened position. The warrior is in a weakened position. All right. So that's the answer. I didn't need to go and do these long things that I usually do. I went, oh, okay. He will fail. He is weakened. And then we just see, it's going to be hard to predict what Engoron's going to do, but he will do something. He's been a very respected judge for like 30 years or something like that. He ain't playing. Really like that phrase. He ain't playing. All right, now I went on to another question for the runes, because John Jr., Eric, and Ivanka have all been called to be witnesses, which means they have to testify against their father. I mean, if that's not Shakespearean, you know what I mean? So I know what my left ear said, but I asked the runes, will Junior, Eric, and or Ivanka perjure themselves on the witness stand? Well, my left ear said yes, they will. They will. But I asked, so I got fertility. And fertility is a very, very positive rune. It's growth, it's life. And it has to do with harvest. And my left ear popped in and said, yeah, it's a harvest of lies. Isn't that interesting? It's a harvest of lies. Well, then I got to this question, will they perjure themselves? I got the blank rune, which is unknowable. It's very mysterious. So now I'm going to read to you a little bit about this blank rune. It says blank is the end and blank is the beginning. And that makes sense in this situation, because they're probably going to end this relationship, all their business relationships, and their relationship with their father. And the rune says, their destiny rises like the phoenix from the ashes of what is called fate. So they're living out karma and fate right now. Now, the blank rune often portends a symbolic death, okay? It may relate to some part of your life that is no longer applicable. It often advises relinquishing control, which is the ultimate challenge for most of us. But when this one appears in the spread, you can be sure that the unknowable is at work, even if you don't think it is at work. Active forces. Active forces are moving unseen in the background, and they're forces that you have put into effect. I have new neighbors next door, and I think they're hanging pictures. So if you hear bim, 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 it's a hammer, and there's nothing I can do about it. And then the last one I got for, the kids, defense. Defense. As we are tested, we fund the power to avert blockage and defeat. And it says, even if there appears to be an obstacle in your path, consider that even a delay may prove beneficial. Do not be overly eager to press forward. Be patient. So once again, this rune speaks to the difficulties that arise at the beginning of new life. And they're all facing a new reality. All of them. Trump, the kids, they're all facing a new reality. I mean, there's a death, and then there's a rebirth, and it may not be a great rebirth, because, well, especially for Trump, it won't. So it's a time of waiting, and we know that. None of this is happening fast, but it's finally happening for the spring to fill up. Avert anticipated difficulties through right action, kids. That's what the book says, through right action. But they're not. They're so terrified of their father. They don't want to betray him. They've been programmed their whole lives. This is not a normal family. So they won't do the right action. All right. And then this also speaks to preparation for the future, preparing the soil, because it says, we're going to leave it right here, through inconvenience and discomfort, growth is promoted. So they may experience some kind of a growth. They won't like it, and it is associated with the hangman in the tarot. So the answer, if I lost you, will Junior, Eric, Ivanka perjure themselves? I want to say I'd bet money on it. And the runes would bet money on it too. And now finally we're coming to Clarence Thomas. Clarence Thomas last week, recused himself from an appeal, and I think it was John Eastman, who's in huge trouble, an attorney that was really part of this coup. And so anyway, when Clarence recused himself from this appeal, he hadn't done it before. This is the first time he's done it, recused himself from something that he should recuse himself from. And so it got a lot of attention. And my left ear just went, oh man, all this bad publicity has gotten to him. He's a little nervous. And it's happening at a time where Ginni's being investigated for some criminal stuff with Leonard Leo from the Federalist Society. They're getting looked at, and the IRS is looking at them. So Clarence is like, oh, I better dial it down, because he was putting himself on all these cases with a lot of arrogance and entitlement, and just he's full of arrogance and entitlement. So anyway, this is the beginning. So he recused himself, not as defiant all of a sudden, and he knows that Ginni's being looked at. So the runes. Will Thomas ever resign as the Supreme Court Justice? So, interestingly, I got the Rune of Strength. Don't get upset. It's an animal known for its recalcitrance until trained, and its massive strength when put to good use. All right. So, this communicates. We must be responsible and use our power intelligently, avoiding subjugating or dominating. There's the hanging the pictures. Use this power intelligently, avoiding subjugating or dominating others, which he's done, and showing understanding and respect for the wishes and needs of others, which he has not. It says that he may also be experiencing a time of change. Yep, I believe he is. And this rune is calling to ask, is something you need to sacrifice in order to move forward? And he needs to sacrifice his entitlement, his cheating, his criminess. He may have to let it all go. That could be the resigning. And it could be he could resign to help save Ginni. That's something that's always been going over through my left ear. And the advice is it time for you to leave the safety of your old ways and embark on a new, better future? I mean, that's really literal, right? I mean, just amazing. All right, so then we got possessions reversed for Thomas. It says there may be considerable frustration in your life right now, from the trivial to the severe. You fall short of your efforts, you reach out and miss, and you could find yourself watching your gains dwindle. And he is watching his gains dwindle because he can't go out on these yachts and these private airplanes now without being completely outed. He can't get away with this stuff anymore. So you're supposed to ask, what do I need to learn? But this is not a man who's like thinks he needs to learn anything. And it does say this rune is putting you in touch with your shadow side of possessions. See, that's like so literal again. It gets better. Doubtful situations are abundant and come in a variety of forms. Do know that this is all coming to be and then passing away. So this situation is impermanent. And one last one, he got stand still. That is the chilliest one. You know, I talk about this. Stand still is represents ice. And it says, the winter of your spiritual life is upon you. You may find yourself entangled in a situation, Ginni's situation also, to whose implications you are blind. You may feel powerless to do anything except submit and surrender some long-cherished desire, and that would be his seat. So that's what's going on with Clarence. I just think he's going to end up stepping down at some point based on these and based on my left ear too. One last thing about him, positive accomplishment is unlikely right now. There is a freeze on useful activity, okay? So you may be entangled in a situation to whose implications you are blind. Not good for Clarence Thomas, and I'm happy to say it. So here's just a couple of tidbits before I get into good evidence. I don't know if you know this, but Colorado is trying to remove Trump as a candidate, as a presidential candidate, so we wait for that. That hasn't been decided. On October 2nd, it came to my attention that in New York City, there is one of those giant screens, you know, like they have at Times Square, and it's video, and it's running 24/7, all of Donald Trump's legal charges and his mug shot. And it's in New York running it's just giant monitor. And it just goes over and over and over every indictment. It's quite a humiliation. And then I just found out that buried in a North Carolina 600 plus page budget is a little noticed provision that creates, listen to this, a secret police force controlled by Republicans with extraordinary powers. Just what the police need. Extraordinary powers. It's bad enough as it is. So we'll have to see how it goes, but it's been outed, which is good. And more books are being banned. Not just in the schools, in the public libraries now. And you know, there's really just like a handful of people that are involved with this. And you know, the word banning is like that no child can ever read a certain book. And I just have something to say here. When I was growing up, both my parents were avid readers. They read and they read, and they had books in their nightstands. And I read at an early age. And when I didn't have something to read, I'd go into my father's nightstand and I'd pull the drawer, and I started reading like espionage novels and mystery stories, and they were adult, okay? Look at me. I'm okay. Nothing's ever happened. I even saw Playboys when I was a kid. What it did was, it made me a great reader. It made me a really good writer. And I'm okay. I'm okay for being exposed to all kinds of different things. It's a shame. It's such a shame. All right. Now we're to the good evidence. And this is what happened on my birthday yesterday, but I didn't get the message on my phone until last night. And I went, wahoo! I have been waiting 3 years on a personal lawsuit. And I went through one attorney, then I got another attorney, and I called this attorney Joe Pesci, because honest to God, he looks and sounds like Joe Pesci. Maybe not quite as extreme, but the first time I met him, I went, oh my God, I have Joe Pesci as an attorney. And there's a funny follow-up story, but I've been waiting 3 years for this. I already did my deposition, and the whole thing's been dragging, and it is going to bring me some financial rewards that I suffered all summer because of what that friend did to me by removing what she promised me. So this happened yesterday. It was like, wahoo, this is a good birthday. And so it's going to get resolved this month in October. And there will be money. I don't know how much money. It won't be like massive, but it'll be very helpful for me. And that was like really good evidence. Needed to share that. All right. So here's It's a quote by a woman named Ursula K. Le Guin, Guin. I didn't know of her. She was born in 1929, and she was a very successful American author. And she was specifically known for fiction and science fiction. And she wrote, "It is very hard for evil to take hold of the non-consenting soul." And so we see a lot of consenting souls letting themselves be evil, just being evil, non-consenting. I'm a non-consenting soul. You're a non-consenting soul. No one is ever going to get us to change our ethics, our heart, our spirituality, and become evil. But all these people were suggestible. It's interesting, isn't it? And she has passed. She was born in 1929. And then, as I'm finishing my Good Evidence book, I have a section, a really long section, of true stories. And some are stories that people have sent me, that I've heard, or they're my stories. And I have a story in there that's about a woman named Terry Cole Whittaker. And she's actually known as Dr. Terry. And she was born in 1939, and she's still alive. She lives in Mount Shasta, California. And she wrote a lot of books. But she was a minister in the Science of Mind Church. And a long, long time ago, I'm living in California, she had a show on Sunday mornings that was wildly popular. She was a very beautiful woman. She looked very much like Doris Day. She looks like very much like Doris Day. She's older now, with tremendous charisma and down-to-earth honesty. And I actually have met her. So I found a quote by her, and it's a really good one to remember, because let me just not say the word always, but we often give away our power, give our power to other people that we think are more powerful. And she was never like that. She just had a grip on her ego. So this is her quote: "I am not the guru, not the master. I am my own master, and all of you will go on as your own masters." So she gave everybody back their power. Now, it was very sad when she retired, and she did one of her last speeches at the Agape Church in West Los Angeles. Very well-known church. I loved Agape. And I went to see her, and I got an aisle seat. Never met her or anything. So she was dynamic, fantastic. And she's like saying goodbye. I'm not going to be doing this work anymore. She finished. It was incredible. People stood up. And so as she exited down my aisle. And of course, I'm staring at her, and she just looks at me. You know what I mean? She looks at me. And I put out my hands, and I took her hand, and I said, "You're so special." And she grabbed my hand and went, "No, you're special." And that was Terry Cole Whittaker. So I have this pretty fantastic story about her in my book. And it was basically, I was driving down Pacific Coast Highway. There's more to this story than I'm telling you. I was thinking about, is there anybody in the world I would like to talk to right now? I was in a crisis, and I went, yeah, I'd like to talk to Terry Cole Whittaker. And she was retired. But I had put a phone number for her in Mount Shasta at her offices in my phone. And I dialed her number. I hit the number on my iPhone. And a woman answered and said, "Hello?" And I went, "Terry?" I knew her voice. "Is that you?" And this is what this stranger said to me. She said, "Yes, sweetheart. What can I do for you? What's wrong?" Seriously. She knew I was in distress. That's the first thing. What can I do? What can I do for you, sweetheart? And she spoke with me for 50 minutes while I was driving. It was a profound experience. So she wrote, "I am not the guru, not the master. I am my own master, and all of you will go on as your own masters." So I'm handing that power to you today, and I'm saying peace and blessings. Thanks for making it a great day yesterday. And I may come back on Friday because, more stuff is happening. And you know what? I wanted this to be like 16 minutes. It's 30 minutes, so we'll hope for the upload to go pretty quickly. Make peace, make good memories, and I'll see you very soon.